All right, let's start this off, y'all.
Hey guys, Rich Richley here again. Are you tired of being tired? Sick of being sick? Broke of being broke? I used to be a walking turd wrapped in skin just like you until I learned the secret to wealth and happiness. You see, all this time, I was told that you had to go to work, go to college, get a degree, and work every day for the rest of your life. Then you would be happy. But then I got to thinking and realized that's bullshit. So I have come up with another 15 ways to make your life better. You see, the thing is we think about things that we don't like in life. But if you just start thinking happy thoughts about money, about your job, about your life, you can become a millionaire at your $50,000 a year dead-end job. In my book, Think Happy Thoughts and Money Appears, I'll show you how to suppress those violent urges and trick yourself into thinking that everything is okay. People will think you're crazy, but they don't know the secret to being filthy rich. Welcome to the Broke Otaku podcast. My name is AJ. With me is Marcus, a.k.a. Salami Origami.
You ever fold your meat? You better start folding that meat.
That took a turn that I was not expecting.
You ever fold your meat?
You can't fold it more than 7 times. I tried. And Alan, a.k.a. Scat Cat McSlap. Boy.
You ever walk up to a guy and just hit him like smack and then say, "Hey, you got scat cat, slappity scat whack." And then you run away.
That's super disrespectful. You slap somebody and be like, "You got scat whacked."
And then he just ran away. I don't know what.
You got slapped. And just dip around the corner.
Then you come back a week later and say, "Hey, remember when I slapped you? Like slappity scat squat whack."
When anime cons come back, I'm gonna just do that to everybody in the hall till I get kicked out.
Just be like, I'm sklabbity sklat quat from
scat
whatever.
Cat slap. You got slappity whacked.
No,
Dress
seriously, that's
as,
gonna be a big. That'll be a big promo move for us. You just be like, "Oh, I'm whatever the hell name you just made up. Like, I'm that guy from the Broke Otaku podcast." People are like, "What?" Don't check it out.
Dress as Cat in the Hat when you do it. That'll be even
Real
more
big.
confusing.
Yeah, when they don't know what you're talking about, you just got to make it out to seem like they're stupid.
Yeah.
Don't you know?
Like
Why don't you know?
You ain't never listened to the Broke Otaku podcast? It's like the most premier anime podcast on the fucking internet, you idiot.
Yeah.
Literally everyone's listening to it.
So exclusive, we only have 20 listeners. I mean, there's like a waiting list to be a listener, but we only let 20 people in.
That's
We have
right.
a waiting list, and no one's getting in ever. It's so long. No one's listening to it.
Maximizing your engagement and viewership is so passe.
Yeah.
Who does that? A bunch of bums.
People tried to listen to it, and we didn't let them. That's
We're
how
like-
exclusive and awesome we are.
It just makes them want it more.
Yeah, your
And
ears
the
ain't.
advertisers, they're like, "We want to reach these 20 people," and we're like, "It's going to cost you extra."
All right, what's this game, Marcus?
Yeah,
The
man.
hell are we doing?
We got a game. It's the returning anime song lyric game.
Yay.
That's the wrong song to sing, Alan. That's not the one you sing.
This is my
What
favorite
do you sing?
I'm not
anime
singing nothing.
singing game.
Zaun Goku Naten Shini Yonori.
Is this the theme song for the game?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, Alan usually sings that when I say this is the game we're going to do.
That's true.
All right, anyways, for those who are new to the
I'll
podcast.
keep going. I'll just do it all night.
For those who are new to the podcast, what we do is I'll sing lyrics and excerpt from a Japanese song, typically one that was featured in an opening or an ending for a specific show. And these two guys will try to guess what the lyrics mean. We all understand each other, correct? Well, let's get this show on the road. You took
Good.
too long to
Thanks
answer.
for not waiting.
All right, here we go. First song.
Does one of us go? Sorry. I know.
We
I know
both
you were ready.
Make up the
You
lyrics.
took that deep breath and everything.
You fucking asshole. He just waits till I take a huge deep breath in.
We both
I didn't
give
wait,
the
but
lyrics, and Marcus
I
picks his
did
favorite.
choose to interrupt you. I could have waited, but I didn't. Who goes first?
I'll
We
pick.
both go.
Okay.
I'll pick. Jesus. Are we good? Can I start
I think so.
with my terrible singing? All right.
Wait.
What?
Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to kill you virtually. All right. Don't make a joke. All right, here we go. 広がる闇の中交わし合った革命の地理愛してゆえに芽生えた赤く花これから先訪れるであろうすべてを誰にも邪魔させるわけにはいかないから
Damn. You never don't impress me with this. And seeing you on video for this one is just like, wow.
I have to get into the part in order to not feel completely stupid. Just
I'm here to tell you, listeners, that Marcus is giving it his all.
Giving it my 100%. Alan, since you're talking so much, translate.
Holy shit.
He's like, oh, I forgot I had to do this part.
Can we make him sing it again, or at least say
You
the
want me to
lyrics
think
again?
Just do the first like 2 lines or
Okay.
something.
Hirogaru
Just gotta
yami
feel
no naka kawashi ata kakame no chigiri. Aishite yue ni mabaita aku no hana.
Of course.
Someone in
course.
Japan is like,
Easy.
you say it wrong.
I hope he says it in English too.
You say it wrong. He makes fun of my Japanese by speaking broken English.
I say, yeah. It's an equal trade. It's a fair trade.
The cycle goes on forever.
I'm sorry.
Alan, what are these lyrics?
Yeah, what are the lyrics? I'm sorry. That hit me the right way.
Uh,
Oh, shit. That hit me different.
When you bite into a magic sushi, you will be transported to another land. Magical fairies and mystical dragons. That's all I got.
All right. I like it. You bite. Did you say bite into a candy bar? What?
A magical sushi.
Oh, magical sushi. Okay. Sushi, candy bar, magic, another world. All right. All right, AJ.
I didn't say candy bar. Don't say candy bar.
Candy bar.
Take that out.
Take candy bar out. No candy bar. AJ, what you got?
Making you a cuckold is part of why I'm here. This is all part of the plan.
Did you pre-write this?
Everyone listen to my food hole. Can I eat some carrots? As the last part, which we should have prefaced this with listening to the actual song. That way I can have some semblance of
I
memory
like
to
it better this way because then I get songs about fucking biting into magical sushi and then making somebody a cuckold for no reason.
You said a word that sounded like cuck,
All right.
so I just went with it.
Here are the actual lyrics. In the spreading darkness, I exchange a pledge for the revolution. An evil flower that sprouted from love. With everything that'll happen after this, I can't let anyone interfere with it. So that song means a bunch of nothing.
I need to. Yeah, it's been too long. I was not
weren't
in the right
prepared
headspace
mentally.
for this. No. I need to dig deeper, and I need to come more profound.
What's that got to
Come
do
with
with it?
I need to come profoundly. I need that Kenja Taimu lyrics.
All right. I'm just going to go ahead and give it to AJ because I like the ending. I like how you ended with carrots, even though kara does not mean carrots.
Yeah, I know.
But I like the
I
spirit
don't care.
of it. All right, so that song was The World by Nightmare, which some of you might know is the first opening song for Death Note.
Oh, Death Note.
Yeah. All right.
So I've heard
Started
that in my
that
life
show.
at least once.
You have probably heard it. Yeah. All right, second song. きしんだ思いを上げ出したいのは素材の証明が他にないから掴んだはずの僕の未来はそうがと自由で矛盾してるよ
Go ahead, AJ.
AJ,
I went first last time.
he's writing.
Yeah, I'm writing.
He's writing the
Premeditating? It's not fair.
He's
It
not
is fair.
premeditating.
I'm meditating before I speak.
You remeditating? Demeditating?
Sleeping in the sky lets you take a sleep pill, but why? Ooh, that rhymes. Find yourself a lady friend, then go to the necklace and get back to you on this matter.
What? Do you speak English?
Yeah.
You're not supposed to translate like the translator does.
Well, that's how it ended up.
Translating the translation.
All right, sleeping pill in the sky and you'll fly and
Lady
find
friend
a necklace.
get back to you.
Get back to you on that for some reason. All right.
Yep.
Alan, what you got?
All right, here we go. The rose's thorn grows legs and will walk you through the alley of truth. Fear not the flaming skull of desire,
Jesus.
but prepare your friends for the loss of their honesty through revelation excluded.
Sounds like an open mic at poetry night.
Yeah, it does. Sounds like some Baroque poem from the Dark Ages.
I mean, yeah, I'll take it.
Just Baroque.
I'm not even going to try to repeat all that you said, but I get the general mood.
No.
All right.
It's like it's like free association words.
Yeah.
Painting a word picture.
All right, here we go. Wanting to spit out the jarred thoughts is because there's no other proof of my existence. My future that I should have grabbed hold is conflicting between dignity and freedom. I'm going to give this one to Alan
Yeah, that's fair.
just because I don't feel like the mood's exactly there, but it's a lot closer than AJ's was. I don't know
It's
what
in
the
the
hell
same
he was
wheelhouse.
talking about.
Mine's
I
in
forgot to channel the regret, but there's always a a layer of regret.
That guy and
somewhere in
Alan
there.
were at the same poetry night. I was at Clown Town
I think we spoke
at the
briefly.
candy store.
I mean, he does say wanting to spit out jarred thoughts. I'm like, yeah, that's like hella poetic. It's like more poetic than it needs to be poetic. That's what's up. All right, last
Don't
one.
just
We are
let them
1
out,
and
you
1.
Spit them.
Oh yeah, that song, by the way, which is probably one of my favorite opening songs, honestly. It's Rewrite by Asian Kung Fu Generation. They're so awesome. And you might have heard that on the 2003 original Full Metal Alchemist anime. It was the 4th opening.
Bam.
Great song. That whole show has great openings and endings, like all throughout. They're all great. All right, so
I guess I'll watch it.
last song, last one. Here we go. ライララライヨラ空に見事なキノコの雲ライララライヨラ小道でをはむ小鳥の午後は木漏れ日の芝に手を触れて君と語ろうほらランチのベンチの上で夢は花咲
I like that you took it down the octave.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna be able to sing that high. I would have had to been too loud, and I wouldn't have been able to hit the notes anyway. So
You know, I knew you were going to do this song, and I was reading the lyrics as I was watching the
Oh,
show,
no,
and I still
you
don't remember
cheated.
any of them.
well, you know what? I wouldn't have counted that against you because that's that pregame.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're anticipating.
We over here pre-cogging, man.
That's
Where
a
your
valid
precog at?
strategy. Very
Well, Alan's
valuable,
first anyway,
viable
so-
strategy. Alan, translate,
Uh,
please.
Why we die is still a choice. Hold on, one second. Why we die is still a choice. Grasp the clouds in your swollen fingers. I don't know why that took me so long. Know that you have missed your chance, and now someone else will steal your glory.
Jesus.
Close.
It's getting dark.
Trying to take you there, man. I'm trying to send you all.
You know what though?
To that
As we do
of
more
healing.
of these, I do realize that the lyrics usually do have like pain and conflict in them.
There's always
there-
like
There's rarely one that's just like, we're gonna go get them and be triumphant. I mean, Dragon Ball was the exception because that was just some random bullshit. But all the other ones, maybe it's just the type of songs I like. Maybe it says more about me than it does about anime openings and endings. Anyway, AJ.
Could be.
AJ, your turn.
Yeah, the Roddy Ra. That don't translate. Rising with the sun and get the birds to do your bidding. Ra ya ya. Tree da. Why did I write that? Waiting for the time to become like a grass seed in the ground. Something I couldn't remember any of them. So that's all I got.
All right. Well, neither one of you translated enough, which is fine.
Oh well, forget it.
Well, no, you ended. It's too late. You don't get a chance now. So, actual lyrics. AJ, you're
what
correct.
was the last thing you said, AJ?
There was
What?
something with the sun.
What was the last thing you said, AJ? Do you remember? Did you write it down?
Seed, birds, sun.
Oh, seed
Something
of the
about
grass.
seed.
Grass seed in the ground.
Was that the last thing? I think it was whatever you said right after that.
I said I that's all I had. It was the last thing that I said after I said that.
Okay.
But I did mention
Never mind.
birds and the sun because I think that was part of it.
So you're trying to guess what you remembered of
Yeah,
reading the
kind
actual
of.
lyrics?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of.
All right. Actual lyrics. AJ, you were correct. They don't translate that. It's basically yodeling. So that's how
Yeah,
it
yeah.
starts. A magnificent mushroom cloud in the sky.
Okay.
On an afternoon of small birds eating feed on a path.
See, I mentioned birds. It's,
Touching our
Maybe they're
hands
birds.
to a lawn dappled with light. Let's you and I talk. Look over a bench, my dream will bloom. This was hard because you both actually said a lot of things. Like Alan, you said like grab the cloud with your chubby hand or something. And
Yeah.
this said like touching our hands. It was saying to the lawn, and AJ had the lawn. So you know what? I'm gonna give that one to both of y'all, and I'm gonna do a tiebreaker.
Yes.
Tiebreaker.
So this
I
one will
have
be shorter.
more. I have
because-
more gravitas to convey. To lay
Okay,
upon
so this
you.
one will be shorter. Oh yeah, and for those who don't know, that is Dream Island Obsessional Park by Hirosawa Suzumu.
That sounds like the name of a weepy American like hipster band.
It does, don't it? Yeah, and that's the opening to Paranoia Agent, the only opening. That's actually what we're talking about tonight. All right, tiebreaker.
What?
Saketa mune no kizuguchi afureru ga sutiteru. I'll just cut it off there.
Migo?
Yeah, you go.
Sleep. Princess, please. Get the cheese. It tastes terrible.
All right.
Is that it?
That's it.
All right. Are
Alan?
you ready?
Yes.
Are you ready? You don't look ready.
I'm super ready. This is my ready pose.
All right. Take your pain. You know you will come back for more. There's enough to go around. But why have you not sold it for life?
All right. Well, actual lyrics. This one doesn't cry like the others. Take his vital signs. Medicate him. So, Alan, you win that one handily.
Yeah.
And I tricked you. That's not
Darkness.
even a real Japanese song. That's an American song that I like, and I just made up some Japanese lyrics to it that don't make any sense.
What? Wait, did you made up
That's classic.
some syllables?
I have took lyrics from another song that I was thinking about doing, and I just like riffed. So I like started with real words, and then I just like would fill in the gaps with like made up shit.
Man,
I don't know if that should...
nothing's
whatever.
nothing's
Okay.
real anymore.
Good job, Marcus. That's real American ingenuity right there.
You've ripped my reality to pieces.
It doesn't matter. You just had to get either closer or more humorous to the lyrics, and the lyrics it don't matter if it's really Japanese or not. It's the lyrics.
Some Japanese
you're
guy,
right.
I hope, is listening. He's like, that was nonsense. You don't do it right.
It's the same dude. Nonsense.
He
American
just listens
don't
to
know how.
podcasts, waiting for Americans to speak Japanese.
Even your
wrong.
nonsense is bullshit.
Why you do wrong?
Why you do that?
Oh, man.
And we've lost
And we've lost the
5 of our
whole-
20 listeners.
Yeah, we've lost the whole of the Japanese population.
It's just one guy.
It's only one dude.
I'm not talking about the whole Japanese population. Just this one guy who's yelling about the podcast.
That's what he
Stop
sounds
listening.
like.
He's a jerk.
It's his fault. We didn't do it.
Yeah. He shouldn't have been listening. Anyway.
If you're offended, it's your fault for listening. There you go.
Food for thought.
That'll hold up in
Think about
court.
that one. If you're offended, it's your fault for listening. Paranoia Agent. That's the theme for tonight. Marcus, kick this one off by giving us, let's say a few lines of what the hell Satoshi Kon was talking about when he created Paranoia Agent.
Yeah, well, as you said, Paranoia Agent, it's a psychological thriller created by the late Satoshi Kon.
R.I.P.
Yeah, R.I.P. 11 years now. You know, I didn't even know he died. He died in 2010, and I didn't know he died.
Yeah, I didn't
Damn.
either.
Yeah, until I started doing more research, I was like, oh, shit, he's dead. Like, no wonder
He died
hasn't
young.
done
He was only like
anything in a while.
47 or something.
Yeah, he had pancreatic cancer. Sucks. Sucks.
Yeah,
really
it
bad.
sucks.
Especially,
Fuck you, cancer.
yeah, especially he was like super talented and great. You know, whether you like his stuff or not, dude had talent. But yeah, so created by him, originally aired in 2004, takes place in Tokyo, like most of his works, where a bizarre case of serial assaults have been taking place. The culprit being a young boy wearing a cap and inline skates, wielding a golden bat. Because of this, the populace of Tokyo in that district where the assaults are happening have taken to calling him Shonen Bat, which directly translates to Bat Boy. But if you watch this in the dubs, they call him Lil Slugger, which honestly I like Bat Boy better. They should just kept that. But whatever. But that's basically what it's about. It's a trippy one. It's real trippy. So
trippy.
Anything else?
Alan,
to add
did you
to
watch
that?
it? Did you watch it dubbed, Alan?
I did.
I started
wondering
it.
That
I
was
started
the
it
best
subbed,
choice.
and then I switched to the dubs for convenience sake. And then they started calling him Little Slugger, and I'm like, no. So I switched back to subs. I didn't like it.
That's awesome.
It did not. I don't know what it is about Little Slugger that just didn't ring with me as far as like.
Just imagine it in the little Hiromi's voice. Little Slugger.
Oh yeah. Ugh. No way.
I mean, that was all I knew, so I kind of just powered through it.
I get that. And if you watched it on Toonami many years ago, I think they probably showed it dubbed, so everyone probably knows him as Little Slugger, and that's fine.
I mean, that's where I first watched it, was Toonami. I think it was. So yeah, I probably watched it in that English at first, but did Japanese for sure this time because it's better.
I will agree with you on this one. As far as subbing goes, like usually I don't care, but for this one it just felt better for whatever reason in Japanese, but I'm sure if you watch the dub it's just as good. So speaking of, what is this show really about? Is it a parallel to the impact of poorly maintained mental health? Is it a tale of the dangers of media? Is it a warning about working too hard and putting too much pressure on yourself? Is it all the above, or is it something that you can just take at face value?
Yes.
Yes to all?
The answer is yes.
And is
all of
there
those
a
things.
I wouldn't take it at face value.
Yeah, well, obviously you cannot take it at face value for...
All of the above except D or E.
all the above except the last one. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So... Character recap for those of us who have short-term memory loss. Tsukiko Sagi, she's the creator of Moromi.
Moromi.
Sorry, Moromi is the pink dog toy that's popular, similar to a Pokemon or Hello Kitty or something. Shonen Bat, aka Little Slugger. You know what it is? Walking Dead, the character of Daryl, they called the baby Little Ass Kicker or something stupid. And I was like, that's the most cringe nickname for a baby. And every time I hear Little Slugger, I'm like, Little Slugger. I'm thinking of this like redneck dude like in the South. Oh, come here, Little Slugger. Come hit this baseball and make your dad proud.
I think the real thing is like the way that they like voice acted it and wrote it in English. They did the LIL. So everybody's saying Lil really hard instead of just saying little really fast, which is where Lil came from.
Right.
So it's like when people go like, it's not 50 Cent, it's 50 Cent. It's like, no, white person, it's 50 Cent. It's just that people...
You don't have to try that hard.
People with an accent just don't say 50. So it comes out a little more like just 50. But it's not 50. Nobody goes 50 Cent.
Mr. Fitty, would you like some ice cream?
It's like, if you enunciate your words, then call him 50. Say 50. So yeah, Lil, like everybody like Lil, it's like, just say little. And if you say it fast, then it's fine. But anyway,
say it fast
that's
enough,
a tangent.
it's fee cent.
Shonen Bat. Just call him that. What else? Akari was the detective.
Two detectives.
And then Maniwa was the detective assistant, who we'll get into his story, which was interesting. So I guess we'll start with high-level thoughts on what we liked about the show, and then get into what we didn't like, and then kind of go from there. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Can I do both at the same time, or do I have to separate them?
Why don't you go last, Alan? Because I know you don't have a lot of positive things to say about this show.
No. I'm just like,
So you're a hater, so go
separating them
last.
is going to take work. Separating the positive and negative, I was just going to give.
Well, that's fine. Well, I'll share my positive, then Marcus, then
That
you
works.
can share your positive, which is mostly negative, and then we'll go reverse order.
You're putting words in my microphone.
All right.
Do not assume.
So I liked Perfect Blue. I have not seen Millennium Actress, and I didn't realize that Tokyo Godfathers was his movie.
I didn't either, until I looked this up.
Yeah, and then I haven't seen that movie in forever, and I need to watch it again because it's been a super long time and I barely remember it. But all his stuff, at least Perfect Blue, was like one of my favorite movies. And so this show is like, I just like the weirdness of like, you don't quite know what's going on. You're not sure what's real and what's not. And that's kind of what makes his art so appealing, is that like you watch it and regardless of what you think you understand, like it's typically not that reality, at least for someone looking in. Like for the characters themselves, like they kind of make their own realities out of whatever's going on in their heads. And it's hard to tell what someone else looking in sees from that perspective. Like, and that's what's kind of cool about this show, is that each episode is basically told from a different perspective, and they all kind of face Shonen Bat in a different way, and they all kind of benefit, so to speak, from a different way of facing him. And it just makes it very interesting to watch. And like, you don't have to necessarily watch in an order, although it does help. Watching one-off episodes, it's a self-contained story for the most part, with a broader Shonen Bat, what is it kind of story going on in between episodes. And I kind of like any series that can do that kind of thing, where it makes you think after you watch the episode, like, whoa, what was really going on there, is fun for me. And that's the kind of stuff I like.
Cool. My turn?
Yes.
Tell us.
So, like I said before, I watched Shonen Bat. That's not what the show's called. I watched Paranoia Agent back when it came out on Adult Swim. I think it was like the second time it came, because they aired it and then they did like another encore airing like a year later. But I watched it that second time it came around, and it's funny, most of the main points of the show I didn't even remember watching it again. I just knew that I liked it for some reason. I just remember it being really freaking weird, not knowing what actually happened and what was fake. And I just always thought about it as one of those weird shows. Like, yeah, man, that show was odd. Like I refrain from recommending it to people because it's so weird. But if it's your thing, I'm like, you'll probably like it if you like weird stuff. So I was going into it with positive memories and associations with it. And having watched it again, I probably like it just as much, if not a little bit more than I did before, just because this time I really feel like I tracked with what the overall story was, even if some of the details from episode to episode were lost. I kind of understood what happened in general, and like what caused the Shonen Bat phenomenon and what it was supposed to represent and things like that. I had a little bit of help because I was doing some research online and stuff. So yeah, I thought it was cool. The main thing about it that I liked, because I'm like the what they would call Sakuga, friggin' like guy of this podcast.
What's that mean?
Sakuga basically is high level illustration and animation, and high level animation. So anything that's considered like high quality, really, really painstakingly animated stuff, or like the art style is really detailed and stuff like that, would be considered Sakuga. So I'm that guy in this podcast, and in all of Satoshi's stuff that I have seen, his character designs are like my favorite, because they're like caricatures of real people. Even when a character's features might be super exaggerated, like they might have like a really big head, or really big lips, or like really small eyes, or like their proportions are a little bit odd, or this. It's like you can imagine the actual person that inspired that character. And I think that's really cool. And I remember back when we were talking about Boogie Pop, I was saying that I didn't like Boogie Pop because all the characters were stale and they looked really homogenous, which I respected that because it took place in Japan and they all just kind of looked like Japanese people. I remember referring to Paranoia Agent saying like, but Paranoia Agent, they all look like Japanese people too, but they all look so distinctive and full of life, and their characters, like their personalities bleed through their designs, and it's awesome. And I like that a lot. So I think that if it weren't for that, I might actually like this show one or 2 points less, because even when I was just confused or hit a part of the story I didn't really care about, I just liked looking at it. I just loved the designs and all that stuff. So yeah, it was good. I liked it. I'm glad I watched it again. And yeah, I might even consider getting a Blu-ray, because I feel like this is one of those that like every 5 years you just play it again, because it's just like, it's been a while. Let's watch this weirdo show.
Something you mentioned, this would be really hard to watch in syndication. I feel like you lose something if it's a week between episodes. Like, that would drive me insane, because it does benefit from, if you're going to tie all the pieces together, despite what I just said before about it being able to be one and done with the characters. I think if you want to tie it all together, it helps to watch it, binge watch it, so to speak, because there is a lot more going on that you wouldn't realize if you took 12 weeks to watch it, on syndication.
I see what you're saying, but I also just think we have less patience than we used to, because
that's true.
We've let our technology condition us, because there's a lot of heady and weird shows that came out back in the day that people loved and followed super hardcore. When binging wasn't really an option. And I mean, we even still have that today when shows first come out, when they're first big, unless it's like a Netflix original, you're not going to get the whole thing at the same time. Typically.
WandaVision?
That's a really good example, actually. That's a real good example.
I want to tie something back to WandaVision, to Paranoia Agent, but we'll let Alan go first.
Cool.
Okay. I want to echo everything you said about the character designs. One of the first things that I noticed and appreciated about the show was just how distinct everyone looked, especially like the fat dudes.
Yes.
Like, you're used to anime, everybody having these like kind of plain, kind of gorgeous, like nice looking faces. They all kind of have the same shape and they're all like, cartoon attractive. But these guys, they had like these big, like lumpy faces and like big old noses, and just like, it was so refreshing to see, like, that looked like, these dudes looked like your next door neighbor or something.
Yeah, it's like the only time in an anime where the most fun characters to look at aren't like the cute girls. It's the ugly dudes that are actually the ones.
No, yeah. And yeah, so that was fun. I was into it for like the first half maybe, and then it kind of disappointed me when I realized that like I wasn't gonna get more of what I wanted, which I guess is kind of vague. Like the setup, I was like, okay, what is Little Slugger? Like, they thought he was a kid and now he's sounds like he's this apparition. So, like, how does that work? And there's all this other stuff happening. Like, how does it all tie together? And the way that they tied it all together was a little, or didn't tie it together, was kind of disappointing to me. So, yeah.
What's your interpretation of how they tied it all together?
What do you mean? Like, what's the lesson that it's trying to teach? Or
not
like,
lesson, but conclusion.
Yeah, like what did you expect, and what do you feel like you got?
So like they had so like when it was like episode 5 or 6 or something, when the kid's talking about he's a holy warrior, and then Maniwa, the detective's assistant, is kind of like playing along in a way, but like allowing himself to kind of enter this kid's world and like see the world as he sees it and kind of understand why he's doing these things. Basically, the kid, at one point there's a kid who looks just like little slugger who is like imitating him, but he only hits a couple people, and then they find out that it wasn't just him. There's this like spirit thing. So, and then you got the old man who's like the master for some reason. They never explain that. Maniwa like gets advice from him, and he kind of points him in the right direction later. So like that was the peak, the episode whatever 6 or something, where they're in this fantasy world, and it's like, oh, how does that relate to what's happening in the real world and these people, and then it just kind of gets back to like, oh, little slugger appears when people, I don't know how it translated in with the subs, but in the dubs they kept saying feeling cornered. Little slugger comes when you feel cornered, and you know, that person felt cornered, so Little Slugger showed up, and I heard he was feeling cornered, and that's why Little Slugger, it was just like, okay, so he comes when you feel cornered, whatever that means. So I guess I just wanted more than that.
Did you think that like that was like a literal feel? Like, does he literally show up, or how do you interpret that?
It seemed like he literally showed up. Okay. Like people were literally injured.
Right.
And I mean, unless it's supposed to be like they did it to themselves, which they kind of hinted at in the one episode.
Well, that's they don't make it like super clear. They really suggest like that what's her name, the main character, Sagi.
Spoiler alert. Just putting it out there.
We're getting into spoiler territory. Spoilers. Yeah, thank you. Tsukigo, Sagi, that she did it to herself. They kind of hint at that. They don't make it super clear. Super Eye Patch Wolf, you guys heard of him?
Yep.
He did that awesome breakdown of Junji Ito. He actually did a breakdown of this show. He breaks it down. Basically, it's a kind of a warning of the dangers of media and blowing things out of proportion. And the comparisons he makes are to real world, like mass hysteria and urban legends, like where things that are urban legends become blown out of proportion and people start actually actively believing that these things can happen and start doing like real world reactions to these things that are possible. And then mass hysteria, where people, large groups of people start acting in a certain way because of one person or a couple people doing something that makes them react the same way. And he kind of related Shonen Bat to mass hysteria, where one person was feeling overwhelmed, so they made it seem like they got attacked. And they kind of hint at that's what she did with him, because they relate it back to the puppy story, where the puppy died and she blamed it on, Shonen Bat, basically. And then as she became an adult, she used the same kind of tactic to get herself out of another situation. And then somebody saw that and did the same thing. And then somebody else did it, and somebody else did it, and somebody else did it. And while it's not like 100% proof that it's all kind of in people's heads, that's kind of what I took away from it, was that people were reacting to their situations with this Shonen Bat attack basically staged and saying, oh yeah, Shonen Bat did this, so I don't have to worry about my problems for a little while.
Well, it's interesting. Upon a second watch, I'm not surprised to hear, Alan, you saying they didn't really wrap it up, and AJ, you saying they hinted at it. But I guess since I'd seen it before and I kind of knew what I was in for all the bullshit, I was able to see that they actually just lay it out. They don't really lay it out plain, but they say that Tsukigo is the cause of all of it. That somehow her imagination, I guess, is so strong, and she has like such a powerful influence on the culture, that her basically making up this event that she got attacked by this assailant and her being such an icon within the population made the story huge. So then with her imagination powers, that's a thing they never really explicitly explain, but they just kind of say that she can do it.
Well, they said flat out like Maromi and Shonen Bat are the same when in I think it was episode 12.
Yeah, they both came from her, which is fine.
Yeah.
I'm with that, and like I don't even need a reason. It's like it came from her mind. but then there's some other questions that like how does that work? Based just with that as the premise, like how does that explain all this other stuff, or how does it relate?
Yes.
But go ahead and finish what you were saying, Marcus.
Okay. So yeah, that's all I was gonna say, because all of it vanished. Like all of the stuff stopped when she was confronted with her past again, where her dog died because of her negligence. And then originally when that happened in her past, she was like, it was his fault. And that's when she created Shonen Bat in her mind. But as an adult, she's like sitting there looking down at her younger self and the dead dog in the situation. And then she faces it, picks the dog up and says, like, apologizes to the dog. And then that's when everything dissipates, because she's no longer running from this traumatic event that she like kind of caused in her past. She's accepted it and has dealt with it. And then that's a theme that gets repeated in the show. The cop guy telling his wife, you have to face reality because she's like got cancer or something. She's sick with something. I can't remember what it was. But you know, like when she's in her lowest moments, he was telling her like, hey, you have to face reality. This is just what the reality is. And then I can't remember. There was like some other instances where I heard that thing too, where people were saying like, you can't hide, like you have to deal with what's ahead of you. And all of the characters in a way were running from reality of some sort. You have the teacher who is like split personalities. She's like a sex worker at night. And like basically has a fight club thing where it's like two different people, except she knows that it's two different people. She's her, I guess, primary ego is unaware of what her alter ego does when it's doing it. She always like finds it out later because she leaves herself messages on the phone, which is dope. I like that a lot.
Mm-hmm. That was a good episode.
You have the creepo dude who was like creeping out on his daughter and was just like a oversexed. He was always getting like prostitutes and stuff like that. And he's kind of just denying the fact that he's fucked up, and he's trying to basically raise all this money to get a house for his family to make everything better rather than like not being creepy fuck. And then I'm not going to run through all the characters, but actually there is one other character I'm going to run through because it's probably my favorite episode of the show, but it's a show that kind of like does a self-parody. It's the one that they're talking about the production of the Moromi anime that they're going to come out with.
Oh yeah.
And they're like running through like what all the different staff members do and their jobs. And the guy that this episode is pivots around, I forget what his job was, but he fucking sucked at it. And he blamed all of his problems on everyone else. And that was like the whole episode was him just like passing the buck on everybody else. Where it was like, no, dude, you're an incompetent piece of shit. Like, so that was just a major theme. And I didn't catch that the first time. Maybe I was just too young. I was like 15 years younger or something like that when I watched it the first time. So this time I really got it. And
but that episode and then the happy family planning episode, it's hard to relate it back to Shonen Bat and the whole overarching theme of the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because happy family planning was
what happened in that one.
That was the one with the three people who met online and then they're basically trying to kill themselves.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, the suicide fan club episode.
The suicide, that one was crazy.
I love. And I guess
that
episode.
I do too. I guess they succeeded at the end. Because you see them walk by these girls taking a picture, and then they look at the photo and they start freaking out, like I assume they saw ghosts.
Yeah, you want to know the secret?
Sure.
They died when they were in that building that was getting torn down from construction.
How do you know?
Because I actually know this because somebody told me this. When they first leave that place, you see crows flying around them. And every once in a while, they'll be walking around a place and there'll be a bunch of crows. And when the old guy realizes that they're all already dead, one of the things he sees is that they don't have any shadows. Nobody's paying attention to them. And there's crows above him.
Oh, really?
So they've been dead almost the whole episode. They just didn't know it.
That's crazy. I want to rewatch that episode because it's
Yeah.
disturbing, but it's
Yeah.
also like the most intriguing episode.
I was too distracted by the fact that they were like making light of like child suicide. They were
Right.
approaching it in such a lighthearted way. I was just like,
Because she was
"Wow,
10 or
this
11
is-
or something.
This is wild."
Yeah,
Yeah,
she was a little
I was
kid.
just like, man.
Well, and she was so joyful. It's like,
To be fair, the two adult guys kept trying to ditch her. They were like,
Yeah.
you're just a kid, like you can't do this. But she just wouldn't
Yeah.
be swayed. She just kept
Yeah.
following him around.
So,
but
like,
I guess the point of that episode was that Shonen Bat does not go for people who want to die, basically.
Yeah, they were excited to meet him.
Right.
Like he finds them in the hotel room that they get somehow, even though they're dead. And then like he's there and he's like, "Oh," they're like, "Oh, it's Shonen Bat. Come here." like we want to meet you. Because I'm pretty sure they were hoping that he would hit them, you know.
Right.
And to your point, they weren't cornered. We don't really know why they wanted to die. It just seemed like a cool thing to them. They just really wanted to do it.
Right.
I
Yeah,
think
they didn't have a good
two,
reason.
The two adult men were like, I don't know, they were just like bored with life. Was kind of the vibe that I got.
They were both really chipper though, which is funny. They were like excited to meet each other and everything. It was
Yeah.
odd. But
So go ahead.
So one thing I want to throw out there, in looking up a little bit more about this show, part of the reason that this was a TV show was because Satoshi Kon before this, I think he had did primarily feature films. And like I forget what the circumstances were, but he wasn't necessarily ever enthusiastic about doing anime, like even though he had done some work in manga, but for whatever reason he ended up doing feature films in that medium rather than live action. And then like became really suited to it. However, in a lot of those movies, a lot of his ideas, you know, they ended up on like the cutting floor. You can't use everything with any project. So for his next project, he was like, I like a lot of these ideas. I don't just want to scrap them. So I'm going to make a show that I can use all of these ideas and have episodes be formatted in a way where they kind of are one-offs, but they're loosely related. And so that's why you get episodes that feel so disjointed, especially the further along you go in the show, where it gets really absurd. Like it is around episode 6, pretty much starting with the family planning episode, where it's like, all right, like we're off to the races. Like this show just kind of can go anywhere. It's going to break its format. It's not necessarily going to roll into each character isn't necessarily going to roll into the next character nice and neatly like we opened up with. And I feel like that's where a lot of those ideas were explored, especially in the more experimental episodes. So I just wanted to throw that out there. What were you going to say, Alan?
All right, so I'm gonna launch into my little like disappointment tirade now.
All right.
So like, yeah, as you're going through all the different episodes, all the different characters, like the lady who had like a double personality, and they're like vying for control, and the messages on the answering machine, like that was super cool, like super compelling. The guy who was like in over his head with the mob, and he like, you know, kind of becomes a little like imitation little slugger, or he's just like a mugger out like jacking people to pay, you know, this ridiculous gangster boss or whatever. Like cool. And then like even up through where they lost me, where I like kind of lost patience, was with the episode where the old ladies are gossiping. And they just kept like drilling about like, oh, so and so was in this situation, and you know that's when they started hammering down like, oh, when little slugger comes when you feel cornered, and you know this person was feeling cornered, and was this person feeling cornered? And it's just like, okay, fine, I get it. And then after that, I did like the anime production episode was cool, but also like I really hated that dude, and it just felt like they spent a long time with him that I didn't really care to spend.
Yeah.
And it just felt like it was more reiteration of this point that didn't need to be made. And then like the last like 3 episodes, they introduced the detective's wife. So like the detectives both lose their jobs because they're, you know, one of the assistants kind of starting to get the idea of there's this like vague how Little Slugger works, like, oh, he comes when you feel cornered, so it's not like this like concrete thing that you can like track down or combat in any way. And then they introduce the detective's wife, and she was just kind of like this cookie cutter, like, oh, he was kind to me, so now I tend to his every need, and I have no purpose in life other than just waiting for him to come home. I was just like, all right, that's boring. Like, I don't care about you or like you.
That's cold.
And I feel like it didn't really. I'm sorry. Like, it just.
You old sick bitch. I don't like you.
Well, that's fine. Like, she's sick. Like, explore that. Like, it was just like, oh, my husband and I don't know.
She was tedious. She was.
I kind of lost interest at that point. And I was like, come on, you got all these threads that you can yank on and weave together, and they're not really doing anything with them. So like I got that, the both of these like Maromi and Lil Slugger came from her, and that they were, very real in a way. There's like this big black like ooze going all over town. Like maybe that's a metaphor, maybe it didn't actually happen, but like I get it. Like she needs to face reality. That's fine, but then you got like what's the deal with the old man? Like who's the old man? Like
that I cannot answer. I have
that's
no
what I'm saying.
idea
Like
how the old man fits in.
I would love, like, you don't even have to tell me everything. Just give me a little something more. Like how did, like maybe I just missed something, but like how
isn't
did
Maniwa the old man? Isn't he like? And then at the very end, after the credits on the last episode, did you guys watch that part?
No.
Well, he becomes the old man. Like
I think
he doesn't
got
become
that part.
him, but he like takes his place. Like the old man passes the mantle to him.
It basically becomes this cycle. So everything that happened in the series is bound to happen again, because the way I understand it, and I like the sick lady kind of back and forth with Shonen Bat, because up to that point you're like, oh, Shonen Bat shows up when people are either desperate or depressed, or they just need an escape.
She was kind of the answer to like how to beat him in a way, so that was kind of her purpose. But
as she's kind of following into her like self-loathing in a way, like she fights her way out. So like Shonen Bat's like readying up to smack her down, and then she's like, well, but he needs me for this, and I do this well, and this and that, and she's just trying to find where she fits in. And so I didn't think that was a bad episode. I didn't think they misused or underused her character, because I think she served the purpose of giving the detective his foundation for how he basically comes around towards the end of the series and realizes like, yeah, I need to face my reality, which is my wife is sick and I've lost my job, but I got to keep doing what I'm doing for her and for me. So that didn't bother me too much.
AJ, have you ever been out in public and then like somebody just like starts some small talk with you, and you do the nice thing, and you like give them a response, and then they keep talking, and then you're trying not to be a dick and like get away from them, but they just keep talking and they don't break, they just roll into the next thing. Or maybe
is this a metaphor for this podcast?
No. Yeah, it's all me. No, but that's what her character was. So I can understand what Alan's saying, because it's just like this, and it's understandable, right? Her husband never comes freaking home. He's like, I gotta find Shonen Bat, and even though he says all the right things to her, like, we got to face reality. Like, even though you can't bear me a child, like, I'm going to stay with you. Like, you need to live. Don't lose your life. It's evident that he's like emotionally checked out. Like, now he's just doing the dutiful husband thing. So I get it. She just sits around all day being sick. She ain't got nobody to talk to, but it still doesn't make it any less annoying. So, but the thing that saved it for me is when she's sitting there talking at Shonen back because he's about to like slug her when she's feeling down and out and feeling like she shouldn't live anymore. Like he's about to hit her and then she keeps talking, so he like sits down at one point, puts his bat down to like hear her out, and then he gets more and more agitated. He starts growing in size, and then there's a point where he just starts practicing his swing while she's talking. So that kind of saved it for me because I'm like, okay, this is funny. Now I get what the point is. Alan, I'm with you. They didn't need to belabor it that long with such an obnoxious character. But at the very least, like the fact that Shonen Bat, this like paranormal like thing that feeds off of the magnitude of his urban legendness, like starts getting annoyed with this super banal lady, like this super mundane chick talking about her sickness. That was hilarious to me. So like that's why I was able. I won't say I loved that episode, but I was able to stomach it for that reason.
Okay, can we go back to the kid? Because there's either I missed something or there's a huge plot hole.
Which kid?
So, the child that she couldn't bear. Okay, so I have questions.
Okay.
She couldn't bear him a child, or she could?
She could not.
Because she could not. So but then he has a daughter. His daughter
wasn't his daughter though. That
was little kid Tsukiko.
Calling him father, he wasn't really her dad.
Right. He was, so you're talking about the episode where he goes into the imaginary world because he feels all washed up and he's like, Japan, this modern day of Japan isn't for me. So then he finds the Moromi thing, and then how does he end up in that fake ass world? I forget.
He got there after he'd been working his 3 jobs or whatever.
Well, I remember like when it happened, but I don't remember like how he found the place. He like walked through a door or somebody invited him to go. He like picks up the Moromi thing he finds on the street, and then somehow he like all right, I guess it doesn't fucking matter. But anyway, he goes into that place and it's like a Japan from yesteryear, and he kind of feels like he belongs there. Tsukiko ends up there because she runs away from the now like lunatic version of Maniwa or whatever his name is, the cop, the ex-cop who was fired. Mm-hmm. He's having a fantasy battle with Shonen Bat. Long story. She ends up running and finding the place too. She finds him and basically feeds into this illusion that like of him being comfortable because Moromi's there too, and Moromi's whole goal is to like distract Sugiko from basically her trauma and anything that stresses her out in life. And so he's doing that for her while at the same time he's doing it for the cop because the cop always wanted a daughter. So then she transforms to her little girl form, and now it's like, this is your daughter now, he's your dad now, you guys are going to live here in this perfect, blissful Japan from a day gone by.
And this is the parallel to WandaVision that I mentioned earlier. For those who haven't seen WandaVision, slight spoiler, but basically they're in this fabricated world where whatever they want to be the case of, whatever makes them happy is what this world is all about.
Well, and whatever makes Wanda happy is what the world is about. In
the case of Wanda, it's whatever makes Wanda happy. But for these two characters, it's, they kind of... And it's hard to say if the daughter's perspective from that world is also the perspective of that character, but basically...
the only thing that I can read into from that standpoint is the fact that we meet her dad for a little bit, and her dad was talking to Maniwa saying that like maybe he was too strict of a father. So maybe she's looking for a different father figure, and now he can provide because all he wanted was just a daughter that he could dote on.
Right.
Maybe.
So there's the parallel to WandaVision. I won't talk any more about that, but basically,
I misunderstood some of that, the setup for that. But so that brings me back to the old man and Maniwa. Like why? Who are they, and why do they know what they know? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that's fine. He's the master. He leads him to where he needs to go. And then, I just remembered the doll dude. So like the dude who's making the dolls, Maniwa finds him.
Oh yeah, that
he's
was
like-
fucked up. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
I didn't
and
really
like
understand that.
every one of the Little Sluggers Shonen Bat's victims were a doll that he had made. Like he had a doll for each one of them. So like, what the fuck is that about?
Did he make the dolls
Yeah.
after the fact, or did he make the dolls and then they became
We don't
the
know. We
victims?
see it in that episode.
Yeah.
He
Right.
like
Maybe
comes
it
in
was-
in that
maybe that was-
episode, and all of a sudden he has like a model of everybody, and then,
And then he has one of himself too.
Yeah, exactly. That's the last.
And
one he
maybe
was
that
working
just feeds into the whole like obsession with media or
I
where,
guess
like-
that's part of it, yeah. And to go back to what you said before, Alan, with the ladies talking about all these different shonen bat stories, that didn't bother me because basically, like, you kind of see what's going on in the story when the young girl tries to tell us her story, and they're like, "That's made up, clearly." But everyone's making up stories, and that's basically how media spreads news and spreads rumors, because people hear things and then they start telling their own stories to get attention, basically, and that's how stories spread. So I just imagine that all of those stories were made up, and that I don't know, I can see why it would be kind of pointless, because it's like, okay, you only need like one or two to get the point across, but still, I thought it was an interesting episode.
I feel like the end of that episode is what saved it, because they say that she's the wife of a scriptwriter, and they're like kind of making fun of her. They're like, "Oh, since you're like a scriptwriter's wife, you would think that you would be able to make up better stories." So she ends
you
up,
think you'd be good at the thing that your husband is good at.
yeah, which makes no sense. Those bitches were dumb. I wanted her to like walk away from them so bad. That was really why I was more annoyed with the episode. I'm like, these people are terrible. Don't try to fit in with them.
It just went on for too long. It was like, okay, like it's a cool setup, like, and the ladies are like, like everything was fine. It was just too much of it.
Was that the whole episode or just half the episode?
It was the whole episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember.
Yeah, it was the whole episode. But she goes back home. She sees her husband on the floor, like bleeding, and he's like, "Help, help!" Basically, she's like, "Honey, what happened?" And he's like, "Shonen bat," and then her eyes light up. She's like, "Oh, like what happened? Tell me what happened."
Yeah, she needs the
Oh,
details. She needs the gossip so she can tell everyone.
Exactly. So I thought that like was a solid ending, even though
No, yeah,
like,
that was a
the
cool
point-
moment, and I was just like, oh shit.
Yeah, but it
but-
did take a lot to get there.
Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily worth it.
Yeah,
But-
and then you got to fill up a 23-minute episode.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, I understand. Like, you need 13 episodes. You got to get there in one way or another. But
What was the deal with
Yeah.
the old woman?
I don't know. That's
I
another
don't
one
know
I
either.
don't know.
Because wasn't she related to that girl, the one?
She wasn't, though. They made you think she was for no reason, but she wasn't. Because she says,
Okay.
"I want to see my granddaughter." Then they show the girl, which in traditional TV, it's like, okay,
Right.
if they're talking about somebody and then they like switch over, they cut to a person that matches the description, you think it's her. But then you see her in the hospital later and it's a completely different woman. Like,
Yeah,
that's her
that was-
daughter. So I don't know what
I missed
she
that
had to
connection.
do with anything. She
maybe they made the show disappointing because to teach that real life is full of disappointment. You got to face that reality that shit is disappointing sometimes. That's some next level shit, man.
I think Maniwa and the old man didn't bother me as much because the old man seemed to kind of just know things. Like he had these like premonitions and whatnot. Because end of every episode, he talks about his premonition of what's gonna happen, and then he's doing math on the ground or whatever that's supposed to represent. I'm not sure, but he's basically like this like old wise sage like dude who has the power to see into the future.
yeah.
And he passes that down to Maniwa. So I don't know. It's not a
Okay.
good explanation, but it's an explanation.
He
No, that's
served.
fine.
He
I
actually
didn't
served a
watch
purpose,
any of
even
the-
though we don't know why he's important, or like
Right.
we don't
I
have
didn't
an
watch the
explanation.
post credits ever. I like thought I should, but every time the credits came, I was just like, all right, on to the next one.
I mean, it wasn't a big deal, but that's basically
Right.
where the old man came into play each time.
The end credits for
Yeah,
the
and-
last episode was the biggest deal because that's just when you see Maniwa in his place. Like,
But you have to
Yeah.
know the the previous episode's setup for the end credits scene was replicated in the final episode with Maniwa as the old man now.
Right.
So
Okay. That's all fine. Like I'll buy that he's, he's just tuned into this, like, these forces or these cycles, or
right, and that's the whole point of the
energy
show
that's out there.
That, like, this is a cycle, and go back through. It basically told you to go back through and watch it again and look for all these different signs of what's actually happening, even though they didn't flat out say what's happening. But basically go back and try to piece the parts together again and see what you missed, which I can get behind because it's that kind of show, and I like that kind of show.
Yeah, I mean, talking through it with you guys kind of makes me like it more, because it's one of those things where you take what you take away from it, and I'm like, nothing hits me the first time. Like I like to think I understand, like, metaphors and, like, artsy shit, but, like, that stuff always, 9 times out of 10 goes over my head. And when I look it up later, I'm like, okay, that makes sense, but I didn't catch that. But it's one of those things where you talk to people about it, and everybody notices different things, and then by talking to people about it, you kind of piece it together, and it does make you want to watch it again.
I feel like this is what Boogie Pop wanted to be.
Okay, yeah, thank you for reminding me. I was gonna say, yeah, because it kind of has that same vibe in the beginning where, like, you're not sure what's going on or how it all fits together. Like, yeah, like Boogie Pop wanted to be as good as a show, but didn't come close.
Not at all.
And I also wrote in my notes, the last episode where, like, with the Black Ooze and Moromi kind of, like, becoming, like, a big terrifying thing. I wrote down Akira Light, which is kind of how I felt about the show. Having just watched Akira again recently, it was like, okay.
Yeah.
One other show that kind of plays this same... I haven't seen it yet. Serial Experiments Lane. Have you seen that, Marcus?
Yeah, I'm never watching that show again. That shit depressed the fuck out of me.
Okay.
I made the same mistake I did with Evangelion and watched too much of it, like, to finish it. And then it was summertime and I had to go to work right after it, and I worked, like, night, which is already depressing because it's like your whole day you're, like, just waiting to go to work. And the job that I had at that time, I was the night shift. So I was by myself. So it was just a bad scenario. But Lane's another one that would merit another watch for me because I barely remember it, but it bummed me out too hard. So I'm probably never going to.
Okay. Well, keep that in the in case you're ever in need of something to watch. Maybe we'll go back to that one.
It's another short one too, so it wouldn't be too bad.
Right.
Are we good on, like, story analysis? I want to talk about the animation a little bit.
Let's do it. Go for it.
Okay. So I want to know what you guys' favorite parts was. Because, like, we mentioned the faces, and, like, so it's well drawn. It's got a distinct style, but then, like, you're kind of going into these people's heads as they're having, like, these mental breakdowns. So, like, my favorite part was I don't even remember who it was, but it was, like, the 3rd or 4th episode. This person's, like, in their head. I think it might have been the burglar guy who was in with the gangsters, and they just kept squeezing him for more money. He's, like, having an episode in the street, and, like, things start getting all wavy and kind of surreal looking, and I just thought that was really cool. How they just threw this other art style in there, which they did from time to time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they kind of did that with the kids' story too, the one that they thought was Shonen Bad. They kind of threw some different art styles in there.
Yeah, and then again with the I just forgot it. With the detective at the end, where they're in, like, what's the girl's name?
Flatland.
Sagi.
Tsukiko. Yeah.
Yeah. Everything kind of looks like a cardboard, like, backdrop or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the animation. Even like the base animation was good enough. I think that kind of lines up more generically with other anime, but I like that they at least attempted some art style changes, especially in that episode with the animation guy who is basically, as his world's breaking down, his art style's breaking down into like its most basic form.
Yeah, he starts getting like his sketch version with no color and like the shading areas that are highlighted in blue that they do
Right.
in animation. Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was cool.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say any of it's like, oh, you have to watch this part because the animation's so amazing and awesome. But I did appreciate that it did some more derivative stuff as the series went on. They didn't stick with the same style throughout.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what my favorite part was, so I guess I'll just call things out that I noticed.
That's fine.
It was funny because I think the episode that had probably the highest quality animation was preceded by the episode that had the least quality. And when I say least quality, I mean like intentionally. That was a part of the style. But the family planning had a really minimalistic, flat style to it. A lot of the angles of the characters, contours and stuff were sharper and stuff, and it felt a little more jagged and rough. That was interesting. And the episode right before that, though, was like, I noticed it just looked way better. And I can't remember exactly which episode that was. It might have been the episode that you're talking about, Alan, with the bootleg Yakuza guy that was like, was forced for burglary. Because I think I remember a scene where his daughter, like, she's attacked by Shonen Bat. She comes back to, she can't remember anything. Her wish was like just to like basically not even be a person anymore, just to forget. And so she kind of woke up and just was blank. I think it was that episode. A real small thing that I noticed that just kind of solidifies why I like watching anime so much over like Western, American specifically cartoons, is that when Maniwa was having his fantasy battle with Shonen Bat, like the way that he moved and the way that he swung his sword was so real. Like when he was like blocking and parrying and stuff, it's like, yeah, that's how you would move. That's how a person's arm would hold the blade. And like so much in like other cartoons, like especially like American cartoons, like they don't really choreograph the fights. They just go like, all right, he's going to punch him and he's going to kick him. And they just kind of draw. I mean, we talked about this with Blood of Zeus, where the movements, they don't, it's like they're not trying to make it look like a real person.
No physics.
Yeah, the movement isn't like a real person moving. It's just like, okay, he has to punch him. All right, he'll do an uppercut and we'll draw what that kind of looks like. And then he'll like jump real far. We'll draw what that kind of looks like. And no, in this, it was just like, and it didn't even last long. It wasn't like a crazy huge fight scene because this show isn't an action show. But I just noticed that for like a few frames. I was like, damn, like that position is really good. Like the anatomy on that is awesome. So yeah, that was cool. That adds points to just me watching this show because I like to look at it. I mean, and I don't know about everybody else, but that's why I watch anime, because I like good animation. I like cartoon art.
What do you think of the fantasy episode?
The one with the cop where he was like back in the day?
No, the one.
Oh,
yeah. Well,
are you talking about the
fifth
one where
episode
they're,
where
interrogating the fake Shonen Bat?
Right, and he goes back and fights a dragon or fairy lady, whatever.
I think I was doing something when that episode was on, and
I was too, and I'm like, I don't remember the.
And I also kind of hate that episode too. So I really,
I hate that episode for other reasons. I think it's a good episode, but I hate what it kind of represents for the series, because every episode up to that point is like telling a linear story for the most part, and then that one hits and it's just like, what the fuck is going on? And I get it, like that's kind of the whole point of the show, but at the same time I'm like, I just want more of what I've been watching.
It's one of the
up until
first
now.
it's one of the first episodes that starts to break. And I
Right.
think when you get that, before you get used to it, before the show like teaches you this is where we're at now,
Right.
like we're firmly just going into weird places. Like you're not settled into that yet, so you're just like, why the fuck are we like following this kid in this fake world? This is blah. So
Right.
unfortunately, I didn't pay that much attention to really say to make a comment about that.
That's fair.
Well, I was really intrigued by the fact that like I guess it was just kind of illustrating his open-mindedness, but it was like he was able to just jump into the fantasy world with him. I was like, is there something that they're both in on that that the detective isn't, or is he just like what's going on? So I was definitely intrigued, but yeah, it kind of felt like they were setting up something that was going to be really pivotal to the story, but didn't end up being that.
There's very little in an individual episode that's pivotal to the story. Like there's no turning point. There's no real, I mean, you could probably argue the climax of the whole series is maybe the second to last episode where is it Radar Man kind of pops in and starts explaining everything.
Yeah.
But there's no individual episode that you can say, okay, this is where the series. I mean, if you had to pick, it'd probably be that episode, which I think is episode 5, where they go into the fantasy world. This is where the series takes its turn and starts, setting its tone for the rest of the series. But there's no real like story-heavy episodes. It's all kind of spread out throughout, and like the first 3 or 4 episodes, and then like the last 2, kind of tell the entire story.
Right.
To a degree.
Right, because it's not a complex story. It's more like looking at the same ideas just from different angles.
Yeah,
Right.
It's like variations on the theme.
Right.
And based on what he said when he created the show, that makes sense because he wants to explore all these different ideas and concepts that he can't put into a movie, so he's putting them into a TV series. Which, okay.
Yeah, and fine. I mean that's Satoshi's thing, right? I mean, I've only of his other works, I've only seen Perfect Blue, which I loved, and then Paprika, which I actually didn't like. But in both of those, you see like his fascination with blurring the lines between what's real and what's fake, and he doesn't really care to explain what is actually real and what is actually fake. It's more about like the experience of that. And what's more important is where the characters end up, not the details of what they went through.
Right.
And I think Perfect Blue does that in a really beautiful way that it goes in weird places, but you still kind of feel grounded. But I remember Paprika. I need to watch it again because the animation is really good. So it's
I want to watch Paprika again too because it's been like probably 10 years since I've watched it.
Yeah, same. But I just remember getting the feeling that like it went too far to the point where I didn't care anymore. So like I don't even remember like the last maybe like 30 minutes of the movie. Because, like, as soon as she gets real big and naked, I'm just like, I don't know what the fuck this is anymore.
It gets real weird.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
This is Paprika you guys are talking about?
Yeah, a lot of people praise that movie. It's probably worth rewatching.
I'll rewatch it, see if I like it any better. Because I think being older, I'll probably have more of an appreciation for his stuff. Right. But we'll see.
I want to watch Millennium Actress and, like I said, revisit Tokyo Godfathers because those are supposed to be really good.
We might have to do some party watches. I want to watch all
party
these
watches. Sounds like we got the next 3 or 4 episodes already hashed out.
I think
let's mix it up some.
Yeah.
I think Perfect Blue is what I was trying to spit out in I think it was the last episode that you guys talk about a lot that
that has blue in the title?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Blue Sub 6, Perfect Blue. You saw Perfect Blue, didn't you, Alan?
Nope.
Oh, why not?
We might have to make you watch that. It's fucking good.
I was just figuring out what streaming service it's on, but I'm not sure.
You can watch it.
AJ owns it.
I have the old DVD. But I think if you have Hoopla, do you have Hoopla?
Disc?
Do you have the Hoopla app?
No, but sure I can.
Do you
Why
have a
not?
library card? You can borrow it for free.
Yeah, okay.
Get the Hoopla. This just goes out to everybody. If you have a library card, if you don't have a library card, get one. And then get the Hoopla app because you can get all kinds of free stuff, and it's great. Digitally.
You have to have a library card to get it?
You sign up with your library card. So it's digital borrows from your library.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, and it's got like, if you want to read like DC or Marvel comics, it's got all the DC and Marvel comics. It's got some manga, not a whole lot.
Right.
But they got movies and they got music and they got all ebooks, all kinds of stuff.
That's cool.
So
nice.
Get
I'll
on
have to
it.
look into that because there are some books I've been wanting to read that I'm not
It doesn't
sure
have
about
everything,
yet.
but it's got a good amount of stuff. But you can also use your library card to borrow digitally from your library. So get a library card,
Yeah.
buddy.
This
Goes out. This is your 5-year-old commercial. Having fun isn't hard if you get a library card.
You got a library card. Who's
Step
Dewey?
your brain game up. Get your library card, you dumb fuck.
This has been a public service announcement.
From Wesley Willis.
Don't be a
From
fucking,
beyond the grave.
Don't be a fucking cuck. Get yourself a library card.
Don't be a cuckold. Get your library card. And your wife won't leave you for another man.
I saw a guy on a park bench. He was in his cell phone. I told his bitch ass to go read a book. Where's your library card? Where's your library card?
Second PSA of the episode. If you don't know about Wesley Willis, go find out about Wesley Willis. You're welcome.
Definitely. All right, you ready to wrap this thing up?
Let's wrap it up.
That gavel be.
Thank everybody for listening to the Broke Otaku podcast episode number. Are we at 30 yet? 29.
No, this is 29, technically 31.
29.
We don't talk about that, though.
I only heard 29.
I like to break the first rule of Fight Club.
So if you're new to the podcast, we have 28 other episodes you can check out. Follow us on Twitter at BrokeOtakuCast, where I tweet out the episode. And follow me on nothing else. Follow me on
I'm going to take the reins.
on Twitter,
I'm going to take control of that Twitter
at
account.
Broke Otaku for anime deals. I haven't tweeted a whole lot of deals lately. There haven't been a ton of stuff out, but when there is, I share it. So there you go. We're on YouTube. Broke Otaku on YouTube. All those podcast networks that you subscribe to.
All of them.
Bet your ass we're on them.
They're not networks, they're platforms, AJ.
Whatever. Platforms, networks, bingo, bango, whatever it is.
Platworks.
Go get it. And leave us a like or a star or whatever it is that you do on those platforms. Tell your friends.
A cube. I want a cube, please.
And to the few of you that are repeat listeners, if we even have those, we appreciate you.
Definitely. Give us a shout
thank
out.
You people that we actually know in real life.
If you want your fake internet name, shout it out on the show. Then tweet us and I'll give you a shout out on the show. Live, pre-recorded.
I'll write a weird anime opening lyric poem for you. Just for
a
you.
limerick?
A limerick? A limerick might need more. I might need more lead time. If you want a limerick, tweet at AJ. I'll write you a limerick.
Tweet it now.
Give me a simple premise.
Right now. Stop your car. Pull over.
Yeah, stop what you're doing.
Tweet at us. Tweet those limericks. All right. Anything else?
That's it.
Eat your vegetables. Go to sleep. Take your vitamins. Don't do books.
Get a library card, you idiot. Start reading.
You dumb cuckold.
All right. See you guys next time. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Peace.
Bye. Thanks.
Oh, yeah.
Well.